for tonight's session, we'll be focusing on phenotype development. Before we get started, I'm just going to have Jack orient us, remind us about the study question at hand, and then we're going to kick it off with Kristen's discussion, followed by Gotham's tutorial. Jack, so do you want to just go ahead and get started?
No worries. Thank you, Jody. Yes. So I guess the overall arching study question is, what is the risk of aortic aneurysm or aortic dissections following the use of fluoroquinolone antibiotics? Just looking at the protocol now, our aims so far are the three aims are characterize the incidence and time to event of aortic events following quinolone exposure, estimate the comparative safety of quinolones versus other antibiotics, and also the comparative safety between fluoroquinolones, and then design a risk prediction model to predict the probability that a patient will experience aortic aneurysm or dissection following exposure to a fluoroquinolone antibiotic. It's been suggested, and something that we'd like a bit of feedback on is hopefully we would like to, I guess, use the urinary tract infection as our sort of main use of the quinolone antibiotics to sort of focus on to start with. We think that might be a little bit easier than trying to characterize and get all the right information for community-acquired pneumonia. So there is a table in the protocol that sort of, I guess, reflects the kind of information that we might start off looking at. So looking at people using fluoroquinolone antibiotics to treat urinary tract infections in the outpatient setting. And then we've got a list of active comparators there. So at a class level, looking at some folic acid antagonists, cephalosporins, and also penicillin-based antibiotics. So that's where we hope to start. And I assume, I guess, what we're going to look at with the phenotyping today.
Thank you, Jack. Kristen, the floor is yours.
Okay. All right, good. So we, Gotham and I, we're gonna split up. I'm gonna do the exposures. I have to share the screen. Share. Screen. And slides.
Can you guys hear me okay? No.
Yep, we can hear you, Gotham.
Hear me? Can you hear me? Yes. Okay.
No,
Yep,
we can't, Gotham. We cannot hear you. It's a one-way question. You can only answer that one way. Anyway, these are the study objectives. Just talked about them. So essentially what we want are patients with these antibiotics, either the fluoroquinolones or the others, which we want to compare to. And they had a urinary tract infection within a week. And they were outpatient, which means they're not inpatient. Okay. I'm going to focus on the exposure. You know how to do these two other things, or you're gonna be Gotham is gonna be talking about it. So we need fluoroquinolones, and we need cephalosporins, and we need sulfur methoxazole trimethoprim. And so what do we do? What do you do if you need to define an exposure? It's actually relatively easy compared to other things that you may want to describe in the conditioned domain, or in the even worse in the measurement or procedures domains. You have to think about two things. What are the ingredients? Because every drug has by definition to have at least one ingredient, otherwise it's not a drug. So everything that's a standard concept in the drug domain will have an ingredient. You need to define the ingredient. And then you have to figure out what modifications you want. Do you want specific route administrations? Or you want specific fixed combinations, or you don't want fixed combinations? And do you want to do certain dosing? like high dose or low dose, that kind of thing. That's essentially it. That's really what happens to 99.9% of all exposure cohorts. These things. And I'm going to show you. And I'm just going to show you the fluoroquinolones. The other ones work just like the same way. And any other drug exposure works exactly the same. In this case, we want the fluoroquinolones, which is a class of drugs, so there are multiple ingredients. We need to figure out each ingredient. And then we have to figure out what the modifications are. In this case, it's systemic. Why is it systemic? You can't get to the urinary tract directly. You actually can. You can actually do an instillation, but that's not what it's done, how it's done. You just take these fluoroquinolones systemically, and so you have to limit the exposure to systemic preparations forms. And of course, there's an argument that Nicole brought up, which is, do we really have to? Because if there's the urinary tract infections, that's the only way fluoroquinolones will follow. And if you have something else also going on, then you're a big mess anyway, and you don't want those patients. But anyway, this is generally what you think. If you say, I don't care about step 2, you can do that. In fact, you should think about what if I don't have the modifications, because my my database doesn't have the level, or might not have the level of detail. Some databases have do the simple way and just map to ingredients. If you think, or you find out in a feasibility that your data don't have anything that will help you with the modifications, you just have ingredients, obviously you don't need to step 2, but you need to think about that there may be in the database records which are only ingredients. And then you have to decide, do I want to take them, or do I trust them, or do I not trust them? Okay, so let's do that. Let's play. First we need fluoroquinolones. Wikipedia, one way of doing it. Don't be ashamed. Everybody does it. The other ways of doing it, you can go to all sorts of other databases. You can use ATC as a classification system. It's actually also in the vocabularies. It really doesn't matter. You will need to have a list of those fluoroquinolones, and sometimes it's not going to be one way, and there's going to be a little bit of it. Patrick and his group published a whole paper about opioids and how that isn't a definition that everybody would naturally agree to. But actually, fluoroquinolones is not that bad. Ciprofloxacin, probably the most famous because of the anthrax situation we had a few years ago. Garanoxacin, Gatefloxacin, and so on. There are a few more down here. There are different generations. Most of them are called floxacin at the end. Okay. So, all right, let's do that. Let's do a Atlas demo. Define a new cohort. Of course, already have it. We're going to do yet another one. Yet another fluoroquinolones. It's Atlas. Keep saving. Keep saving. It's a good idea. Okay. Concept sets. We need to find concept sets for the ingredients of fluoroquinolones. We have the name. We just start searching. Ofloxacin. And then we have to go in and keep doing this, right? And list until we have the whole list. God, oh no, let's see. Well, let's first look at this one. Okay. Each time you do Atlas search or Athena search, it's the same thing. You type, oops, you define the domain, you click on standard. 3 steps you always do. Type the keyword, click on the domain, click on standard. Then already you are in the solution space, right there. Okay. And so we need the ingredients. There are a little bit too many here. I have no intention to go to 235 pages today. So the third step is ingredient in the concept class. Here you go. Now we only have 1 page. And these are the ingredients. And of course, these are all the ingredients that we want. Yada, 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 yada. Sometimes you have normal
Christian?
extensions. Yep.
Christian, could I just suggest that you change the record count to be the Atlas prod up in the top right, the little drop down? Right now you're looking at counts from the fake data, but
Yep.
it'll be nice to see the community counts because it'll help as you keep going here.
Help as you see. Now I have to do it again.
Sorry,
Domain.
that was my bad.
Standard. No, that's totally fine. Repetition is a good pedagogic principle. Domain, standard, in class. Domain, standard, class. Okay, that is always your game. Yeah, you can decide. Obviously, you see that some of them are bizarres and they're not used, and obviously, and some of them are used. Cipro, of course, is used very, very much, and levofloxacin is used very much, and the others are not that much used. You go to the bottom, all the descendants, and you add these concept sets. Okay, that's it. No, it's not. You have to do the modification, but you have to do the first. You have to do this the first step. Except you have to keep searching, right? So you go back to the list, and then ofloxacin, norfloxacin. We haven't got that yet, and so on, right? So you keep going until you have them all. Not that should take you less than 5 minutes. Now we have these guys. We go to the concept set. Ouch, 11,823. Okay, and we need to do the modification. We said we want systemic. Remember? We have all the fluoroquinolones. Now we want systemic. What do we do? So, and they are now 8,800. Okay, now we have to figure out the ones we want from the ones we don't. The solution to that is clinical drug form. Clinical drug form. Remember, please remember, this is your friend. Only if you want to do high dose and low dose, you go do clinical drug components. Otherwise, you do clinical drug forms, and that will solve this problem for you. So you go to the 11,000. Okay. And you have again, same thing. Drug domain, in this case, is of course, it's trivial, standard, and now it's clinical drug form. Clinical drug form. And now you have 2 pages, much better. 2 pages. You can do that. Now you can do either one of 2 things. You either include the one you want, or you exclude the ones you don't want. Usually it's easy to exclude. So otic, okay, in the ear, you don't put ciprofloxacin into the ear if you want to treat urinary tract infection. Let's get rid of this. Let's get rid of this, but I don't want to do it this way. That's stupid. Otic. Bing, bing. Even that. Click. This is the funny thing, right, Patrick? Is it what we did? What we found out? If you click on
They're all
this,
checked. It just unfilters.
it's checked.
So
It's unfiltered. So you have to do exclude and the descendants add to concept set. We do it again. Drug standard clinical drug form. Okay, now I screwed it up. I have no clinical drug forms left. That was a good one. So I excluded the otics. it looks all good. What's wrong with this thing? Clinical drug form.
You've got the filter on audit, so now you want to change it to a different filter.
Oh, of course. So let's see whether I have other ones. So injectable is good, oral is good, injectable, topical. Let's go. There is no such a thing as topical. Click, 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 click. Exclude descendants. Done. See if we have one more. Load included concepts. Let's take the topical away. Again, standard drug, clinical drug form, otherwise you have no chance. Okay, injectable, oral is good. Injectable is good. Ophthalmic, bad. Get rid of it. Ophthalmic. That's it. You can go more, there's vaginal, but essentially that's what you did. So the whole thing should take you no more than 10 minutes. And actually now you have done the whole job. So take home message is, number 1, ingredient. Number 2, clinical drug form. And pick what you want or exclude what you don't want, or do both. Okay. And then you have a beautiful concept set of all the ones that you need. And so it's the ingredients, they're all in, except the bad drug forms that you don't want because they're topical. Okay. And then don't forget to save and name this thing.